ISKCON BBT Samstapakacharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Shri Mayapur Navadi Dham ki jai. Ganga Maya Jamuna Maya ki jai. Shrimati Tulsi Devi ki jai. Shrimati Bhakti Devi ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Samveda Bhaktivinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 1, Text number 2. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yadoscha dharma shilasya. Yadoscha dharma shilasya. Nitaram muni sattamaha. Nitaram muni sattamaha. Tatram chenavatirnasya. Vishnu viryani sangsanaha. Yadoscha dharma silasya. Nitarang muni sattama. Tatram sena vatirnasya. Vishnu viryani sangsaraha. Yadoscha dharma silasya. Nitaram muni sattama. Tatram senavatirnasya. Vishnu viryani sangsanaha. Yadoscha dharma silasya. Nitaram muni sattamaha. Vishnu viryani sangsanaha. Yadoscha dharma silasya. Nitaram muni sattamaha. Tatram sanena vitarnasya. Vishnu viryani sangsanaha. Yadoscha dharma silasya. Nitaram muni sattamaha. Tasya Vinkaramuni Sattamaha Tatram Svena Vitirnasya Ladies? Yaduho, O Yadu, or the Yadu dynasty. Cha, also. Dharmashilasya, who were strictly attached to religious principles. Nitaram, highly qualified. Mudi Sattamaha, O best of all Munis, King of the Munis, Shukadeva Goswami, Tatra, in that dynasty, Anksenaha, with his plenary expansion Baladev, Avatirnasya, who appeared as an incarnation, Vishnu, of Lord Vishnu, Viryani, the glorious activities, Sangsa, kindly describe, Naha, unto us. Translation. O best of Munis, you have also described the descendants of Yadu, who were very pious and strictly adherent to religious principles. Now, if you will, kindly describe the wonderful, glorious activities of Lord Vishnu or Krishna, who appeared in that Yadu dynasty with Baladev, his plenary expansion. Responsibly, please repeat. O best of Manus, you have also described the descendants of Yadu, who were very pious and strictly adherent to religious principles. Now, if you will, kindly describe the wonderful, glorious activities of Lord Vishnu or Krishna, who appeared in that Yadu dynasty with Baladev, his plenary expansion. Purport. The Brahma Samhita 5.1 explains that Krishna is the origin of the Vishnu Tattva. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachit Ananda Vigraha Anadir Hadir Govinda Sarva Karna Karnam. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme controller. He has an eternal, blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, for he is the prime cause of all causes. Yasyaika nisvasita kalam atavalambya jivanti loma vilaja jaganandanata Vishnur mahangsa iha yasya kala vishesho govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. The Brahmas, the heads of the innumerable universes, live only for the duration of one breath of Mahavishnu. I worship Govinda, the original Lord, of whom Mahavishnu is but a portion of a plenary portion. Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, text 48. Govinda, Krishna, is the original personality of Godhead. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Even Lord Mahavishnu, who by his breathing creates millions upon millions of universes, is Lord Krishna's Kala Vishesh, or plenary portion of a plenary portion. Mahavishnu is a plenary expansion of Sankarshan, who is a plenary expansion of Narayan. Narayan is a plenary expansion of the Chaturvyuha, and the Chaturvyuha are plenary expansions of Baladev, the first manifestation of Krishna. Therefore, when Krishna appeared with Baladev, all the Vishnu Tattvas appeared with him. Maharaj Parikshit requested Shukadeva Goswami to describe Krishna and his glorious activities. Another meaning may be derived from this verse as follows. Although Shukadeva Goswami was the greatest Muni, he could describe Krishna only partially on Sena, for no one can describe Krishna fully. It is said that Anantadev has thousands of heads, but although he tries to describe Krishna with thousands of tongues, his descriptions are still incomplete. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmuditam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Taraham Bande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishvaram. So, this is Maharaj Parikshit encouraging Shukadeva Goswami to speak more about the pastimes of Krishna. He calls him Muni Sattamaha, the greatest of all the Munis. Maharaj Parikshit is having only a very short time left, as he was cursed by the Brahmin to die within 7 days. But he spent those 7 days listening and hearing to the words of Shukadeva Goswami. And thus we have this Srimad Bhagavatam. It's all about Krishna and Krishna's devotees. So, Srila Prabhupada mentions Ishvara Parama Krishna. That there are many in this world Ishwaras. Some people are controlling a family. Someone is controlling the factory. Someone is controlling the corporation. Or someone is controlling the country. Someone may be controlling a complete planet, like the demigods, Chandra, Indra. So there are many controllers. Everybody's trying to control something. Even the telawala, the rickshawala, he's trying to control his rickshaw and his tela. They identify with that, what they're controlling. Once I was in a taxi in the city, and in the city, very small roads, very crowded, like in Bullishwar Market, Boyada, very tight. So much foot traffic. And they move goods by the tela, by the cart. Right? So the taxiwala was trying to go down the street, and the person pushing the cart was in the way, and the taxiwala shouted out, "Hey, telawala, side karo." And he didn't object. He also accepted. He's Thelavada. We think that's a little funny. He's identifying with Thela. Right? But everyone is the same. Someone else is identifying, I'm Prime Minister, my country. I'm the leader. Indra is identifying, I'm the king of heaven. Everyone should listen to me. So bewildered that he couldn't identify Krishna when he appeared in the form of a small boy in the village. Right? Generally we think, village, people aren't very educated. They should come to the university and get education. Right? They should have a degree. Then they are elevated. We think like that. So Indra also felt like that. So Ganwala and all these Nanda Maharaj, they're listening to this small boy to stop the Indra Yagya. Right? So Indra became a little proud. And Krishna performed the whole pastime of lifting Govardhan Hill just to cut the pride of Indra. Krishna doesn't want his devotees to be very proud. So sometimes he arranges different things to cut the pride of the devotee. In our own devotional service, so many things happen. Right? Somebody said this, somebody did that. All of these things that happen, the devotee takes it as Krishna is helping me get rid of my false ego, my ahankar. So then I can cut off all these things that I'm identifying with as me or I'm controlling, right? Whether Thelavada or Prime Minister, I can cut off. So Krishna is helping. And so that we understand Ishvara Parama Krishna, controller, the supreme controller is Krishna. When we come into this material world, we're forced to enter a material body. It's not our choice. It's by the material nature, Daiva Nitrena. We get some material body. And we take on so many identifications. I'm from this family. I'm from this religion. I'm from this community. So many. Due to the material body. But when Krishna appears, he's transcendental before his appearance, during his appearance, after his appearance. In this material world, he's always transcendental. Actually, our identity is Satchit Ananda. But due to being covered over and identifying with the material body, our real identity is covered over. Krishna is Satchit Ananda Vigraha. The living entity is also Satchit Ananda. But Krishna never becomes covered over by the material energy. Even though he appears in the material world, still his form is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. Srila Prabhupada mentions that when Krishna was with Arjuna, who was fighting the battle of Kurukshetra, and Krishna acted as his chariot driver. Krishna at that time had been on the planet for 125 years. He had sons. How many sons? 16,000 times 10. Right. And then he had, okay, it's close enough. And he had, by each of those 16,108 wives, he had 10 sons. And each of those 10 sons all had 10 sons. So how many grandchildren he had? So many. Okay? But still, as he was driving the chariot for Arjuna, he was a young man, 20 years old. He looked. Okay? This is Satchit Ananda. Nowadays, if anybody has 2 sons, and they each have 2 sons, it's a very big family. Very big. Hum do, hamari do. Used to be on the back of all the rickshaws. Hum do, hamari do. Very big family. And so much tension. Only 2 sons means so much tension. How to get them educated, and how to get them married. So much tension. But for Krishna, no tension. He's always Satchit Anand. Always, his body is transcendental. Our body is deteriorating. Srila Prabhupada said, we don't celebrate birthdays. We don't celebrate our birthdays. Why? Because what does it mean? It means 1 year closer to death. Right? Isn't that what Prabhupada said? 1 year closer to death. Why are we celebrating? We're celebrating our death, closer to the death. But that's not there for Krishna. We can celebrate the advent of Lord Krishna, the birth of Lord Krishna, because it's transcendental. Krishna appeared transcendentally with 4 arms and a full set of hair. New babies that come out of the womb, they don't have any hair, right? They can't even open their eyes hardly. They're not even coming out breathing. The doctor has to give them a slap on the back, and then they start to breathe. They take their first breath. Right? Not so for Krishna. Not like that. His janma is transcendental. So this verse, Anadiradir Govinda, he's the source of everything. Sarva Karna Karanam, he's also the cause of all causes. You know, you can say that your father is the cause of you. He produced you as a child in collaboration with your mother. But who was the cause of your father? And who's the cause of your grandfather? So you go back. I may be there, but there's some cause to me. And if you trace it back. But for Krishna, there's no cause. He is the cause of all causes. He is the original father of everyone. Aham bija pridapita, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. He is the sarva karana karanam, the cause of all causes. So he performs these various pastimes in Vrindavan. He comes to Vrindavan and he brings with him his holy dham. The Lord descends, and when he descends, he brings with him his holy dham. Shri Vrindavan Dham. It's a transcendental place, the Lord's activities. Even still, the activities of the Supreme Lord are enacted there continuously. But one has to have the eyes to see. Right? One has to become, the senses have to become purified. Because the Supreme Lord is Satchidanand Vigraha. We can't experience him with our materially contaminated senses. But we can purify our senses. And especially we purify our consciousness and our senses through Krishna Katha. By hearing about Krishna and Krishna's activities. So Krishna performs all these activities. Right? The activity of Kamsa trying to kill Devaki at the time of her marriage, and Vasudeva instructs Kamsa with transcendental knowledge. But because Kamsa, being very demoniac and covered over and materialistic, he couldn't understand that good instructions. Vasudeva was trying to tell him, everyone has to die. Why should you be so concerned? He couldn't, still he was going to kill his sister. Even he said, what will people say? You killed your sister on her wedding day. Still he wasn't convinced. But then Vasudeva said, okay, when all the sons of Devaki are born, I'll hand them over to you. You do what you like. Knowing that, Kamsa, knowing that Vasudeva was a trustworthy person, honest person. Right? In life, it's like either this or that. You're known as a trustworthy person, you're true to your word, or you're not. Everybody knows. In the market, nobody has on their forehead, I'm not a liar. But in the market, everybody knows. If you do business with him, be careful. Baad mein paisa nahi milega. All spread, everybody knows. Right? What is that man's nature? Huh? And someone who's honest, someone who's truthful, who doesn't tell lies, that's also spreads. Right? Everyone knows. You can't hide it. You can't hide it. So, Kamsa knew Vasudeva, truthful, good for his word. A man is good as his word is. Right? And later on we see, when the child came, although it was very difficult, very hard thing to do, he brought that child to Kamsa. And Kamsa was so carried away by the honesty and goodness of Vasudeva. He said, okay, it's the 8th child. All right, you take. Then Krishna appears. Of course, that appearance was accelerated by Narad. Narad Muni likes to get things going, you know. And he went to Kamsa and said, hey, you don't know, Krishna is going to come, likes to accelerate things. Srila Prabhupada tells how, because Narada is very intimate devotee of Krishna, very close. So he can say some things, joking or criticizing. So one time Narada was saying, you know, my dear Lord, your devotees, your Pandavas, right? They are your devotees. They have so much love for you. But their wife got insulted. They lost the gambling match and they had to go to forest for 12 years. But yet they have so much love for you. They have so much attachment for you. This is what happens to your devotees. So This is what it means to be a devotee. To, whatever the condition is, to serve Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada gave the best example. At an old age, he crossed the ocean. On the boat, 2 heart attacks. And when he got off the boat, no one was there to greet him. Right? He said when he got off the boat, he didn't know whether to go right or left. Right? A stranger in a strange land. Right? Very difficult situation. But yet, Krishna was protecting Srila Prabhupada. He knew that, and therefore he never felt alone. Right? He felt sheltered by Krishna. So for the devotee of Krishna, he remains with Krishna always by remembering the pastimes of Krishna. Arjuna became despondent because Krishna had left this world, and he came back to Hastinapur, and he looked very unhappy, depressed. So Yudhishthira was saying, "What happened? Why you're so unhappy, so depressed?" So Arjuna related that when I was coming from Dwarka, I was bringing Krishna's queens back from Dwarka. And some cowherd men came. They defeated me and took away all those queens. The same Arjuna that fought with all the powerful generals on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Bhima, Dronacharya, Kripacharya, so many, whose weapons were given by Indra himself, Gandiva, defeated by cowherd men. Krishna felt bereft. He lost all his Shakti, and he was depressed. So he took some antidepressants, and he took some Prozac, and no, not like that. He didn't take any pill. What did he do? He remembered Krishna's instructions on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And by remembering Krishna's instructions, he remembered Krishna. And by remembering Krishna, his consciousness was revived. He felt again enlivened. That's called Krishna Katha. Krishna Katha. There's 2 types of Krishna Katha. One is the words of Krishna. It's contained in Bhagavad Gita. And the pastimes of Krishna. Krishna's Leela. That's contained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So both are good for reviving our original consciousness, right? For helping us shed this false identities that we've acquired due to the material body, the false attachment or idea that I can become happy by sense gratification, right? Simply by hearing Krishna Katha. So in order to have things to hear about and things to chant about, Krishna performed so many leelas, so many pastimes in Vrindavan. He appeared, was wonderful. His father, Vasudeva, took him to Vrindavan, crossing the Jamuna. Mentioned here that when Krishna comes, all the different expansions are there with him. All the expansions. Right? We know from Shastra that Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. And when he's in Mathura or Dwarka, he's in his Vasudeva form or Narayan form. Vasudeva form. So when Vasudeva was bringing Krishna, it was raining heavily, and the Jamuna was swollen with water, flooded, and he had to cross. So while he was crossing, he slipped, and the basket fell, and the baby fell in the water. And he was searching frantically for the child. And he got the child and put him back in the basket. So the acharyas say that that happened, there was a switch. The Vasudeva form of Krishna was switched to the form of Krishna in the Jamuna, so that what he took, to the baby that he took to give to exchange with the baby of Mother Yashoda was the Swayam Rupa, the original form of Krishna, who never leaves Vrindavan. Anyway, the point is hearing about Krishna. And our whole movement is based on this Krishna Katha. Srila Prabhupada, wherever he was, he would speak on Srimad Bhagavatam in the morning, and in the evening he would speak on Bhagavad Gita. And even in Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavatam class, if you add up all the quotes from Shastra that he gave in the class, Bhagavatam class, maximum is Bhagavad Gita. Maximum. Why? Because before people can surrender to Krishna, first they have to know how great Krishna is. Right? And Bhagavad Gita is about the greatness of Krishna. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada is explaining from Bhagavad Gita the greatness of Krishna. So our Krishna consciousness movement means to elevate people out of this bodily concept of life into the platform of Krishna consciousness. That's Lord Chaitanya's direct instruction. Jare deke tari kaha Krishna upadesh. Right? Whoever you meet, wherever you go, you give them, talk to them about Krishna. You give them Krishna Katha. Right? This is our movement. So there has to be a quality of the chanting. Then it will act as a medicine. The disease is the bodily concept of life. The medicine is Krishna Katha. But just like you want to go to a doctor who's qualified, there should be a qualified doctor. Otherwise, he may give the wrong idea, wrong medicine. Same way, we should hear Krishna Katha, not from just anyone, but from the devotees of the Lord, from the Lord's devotees. It's a common practice in India to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. They call it the Bhagavat Katha, or the Bhagavat Saptaha. Bhagavat Saptaha. Right? Because Maharaj Parikshit heard Bhagavatam for 7 days, so they go to some professional Kathawala and hear Srimad Bhagavatam for 7 days. But that's not the prescription. Right? Shukadeva Goswami never says Bhagavat Saptaha. It's Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Nityam. Nityam means regularly hearing Srimad. Every day. Hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Then the medicine, and from the right source. From the devotee of the Lord. Not from anyone who has some self-ambition, some ulterior purpose. That will not help. It won't act. The medicine won't act. You have to hear from the right source, from the devotees of the Lord. Then the medicine will act. And what will be the result? One will become free from the anarthas, the unwanted things within the heart. And the number one unwanted thing within the heart is that I am this body and I can enjoy this body. Therefore Krishna comes and he states in Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo viti tattvataha tattva deham punha janma nati mamati so arjuna. Janma karma chame divyam. That my birth, my activities, they're not ordinary, they're divyam, transcendental. If you know these in truth, tattva deham, then again, you don't have to take a body. Purna janma. Nayati. No longer you have to take a material body. Then what will happen? Mameti. You'll come to me. You'll come to my abode. So Krishna is so kind. Simply by understanding his birth and his activities, how they're transcendental, he allows us to come to him and be with him in the spiritual world. Actually, Krishna Katha is so powerful and so wonderful that the devotees who are absorbed in Krishna Katha, they're not even interested to be out of this world. By that absorption in the pastimes of Krishna, in the spreading the message of Krishna, they're not in this world. They're already transported with Krishna. They already live with Krishna. The spiritual master, although that it appears externally, he's guiding the movement, he's pushing forward the Sankirtan movement. In his heart of hearts, he's serving the divine couple in Vrindavan. Radha and Krishna are seated on the golden throne, and they're being served by various devotees. The spiritual master is absorbed in these activities. So therefore, hearing from such an elevated person, like Shukadeva Goswami, Maharaj Parikshit wanted to hear from him because Muni Sattamaha, not ordinary Muni, Muni Sattamaha, the highest, the king of all the Munis. In that audience were so many learned sages. When Shukadeva Goswami was speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, all these pastimes. But they were hearing very nicely. Even Srila Vyasadeva was sitting there, ready to hear the message of Krishna, the pastimes of Krishna. This is why we celebrate Sri Krishna Janmashtami. It's the pastime of Krishna, the one who is Aja, not born. He's never born, but yet he takes birth. Difficult for the conditioned soul to understand. And the non-devotees, they can never understand. They falsely think that Krishna is like an ordinary person, has his birth in this world, and that he became self-realized. He became God. No, Srila Prabhupada says. God is always God. God doesn't become God. This is the Mayavadi concept. You do meditation, you become God. But now they're feeling the weight of the knowledge that Srila Prabhupada has given, that no, Krishna is the supreme. Always was, always will be. Not that he became. And you can also become. Nonsense. No nonsense. Right? They put forward the interpretations of Sankaracharya, Nirakar, formless. God is formless. You have a form. You have a personality. But God is formless. God has no personality. Huh? That means you have something that God doesn't have. God has everything within our experience. And God has everything outside of our experience also. Then He's God. So if you can experience form, God is the source of all the forms. This they do not understand. And they're trying to expose ISKCON, that their translation in Bhagavad Gita is wrong because Sankaracharya says here, this word means this. But Sankaracharya specifically came to bewilder the atheist. They are to bewilder the atheist who had no faith in the Vedas, to try to bring their faith back to the Vedas. And once their faith was back in the Vedas, then the Lord sends His pure devotee acharyas like Madhvacharya and Ramanujacharya to give the proper explanation of the Vedas. And then He comes again Himself as Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to give the perfect understanding, Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. Krishna is so kind. But people are so, mudhas. The real thing they reject for the bogus thing. Right? If someone makes a sculpture or a painting of a bird, people think, oh, very nice, you made a painting, beautiful bird. But why not give credit to the person who makes the original bird? Right? Look at the color of the birds. The original artist is Krishna. The parrot, the peacock, so many beautiful colors. No. That they say by chance, combination of chemicals. Right? But yet if somebody makes a painting, oh, he's a great artist. The painting sold for, 1 crore of rupees. They're not ready to give credit to the original artist, the original person, the Swayam Rupa. Ete Changsha Kala Pungsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So Srila Prabhupada's books are clearing off all these improper conceptions, and they're feeling the weight. That's why the Mayavadis are coming on the YouTube and saying, no, don't read this Bhagavad Gita. Don't read. Read Sankaracharya. Right? But the problem is, Sankaracharya doesn't have so many devotees that go out on the street. Lord Chaitanya has a big army, and they go out. That's their business. And they knock on the windows. here's the real thing. Today is Gita Jayanti. Sometimes they say today is Bhagavat Jayanti. There's no such thing as Bhagavat Jayanti, by the way, but they say Bhagavat Jayanti, yeah. Yes. Take a book. Giving the real knowledge, awakening the conditioned soul, Jeev Jago. So the Mayavadis are feeling the things are slipping from their hands. And they're trying to react to that. But they won't be able to do anything if the devotees become fixed up preachers in the Krishna consciousness movement, if they become trained as qualified preachers. They'll be able to save the whole world from this misconception that the Supreme Lord is impersonal. This is destroying the moral fiber of all the people. So therefore we require so many trained preachers. And that training means to read Srila Prabhupada's books, understand Srila Prabhupada's books from various angles, and give that knowledge to others. This will be good for us, and it'll save the world from the calamity of impersonalism and voidism. Hare Krishna. So if there are any questions, we can try to answer them. Mike.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, we hear in Bhagavatam that when queens, Arjuna was bringing the queens of Krishna, and Arjuna was bringing queens, and then they were kidnapped by the coward men. And we also hear that these queens, they heard Bhagavatam from Uddhav, and that time Parikshit Maharaj was guarding. And Uddhav told Parikshit that you are the original candidate of Bhagavatam. Right now you guard so that Bhagavatam is not affected. Later on you will hear. And queens heard from Uddhav when Parikshit was guarding. And in Bhagavatam we hear that they were kidnapped when Arjuna was bringing them back. So can you please explain this?
So both things happened. I don't know exactly how, but it's Bhagavatam says that after Krishna left, Arjuna wanted to bring the queens to Hastinapur so they can stay there. The woman is always under protection. They're never independent. And so therefore he was bringing them for their protection, because all the members of the outer dynasty had also had a battle with each other and all disappeared. So because of that, they were brought there to Hastinapur. But these cowherd men took them away. But those cowherd men, explained, were actually Krishna. He manifested himself to take them away. Otherwise, no one can take away the queens of Krishna. But it's a lila. So Arjuna could demonstrate to us how from the very depressing situation one can elevate one's consciousness simply by remembering Krishna's instructions, as Arjuna did. Pastime. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for the nice class. Prabhuji, you shared about importance of hearing Krishna Katha. So, can you please explain this hearing in how one should hear? It's just only hear, or you have to contemplate and apply?
Real hearing means to act upon what you have heard, to apply what we've heard in our activities. Right? We hear from Shastra that one should become humble. So when we hear that, we should try to be submissive and humble. Right? Not that we hear and then we, in our regular activities, we do something else. Right? Tum kaun hai? Hum kya malam hai? What is that? We should try to act. Front gate safar, fenk dega. I'll throw you out. No, not like that. We should be humble. Hear and apply it in your life. Of course, Arjuna was also humble, but he was killing. That humility was surrendering to the instructions of Krishna. And at first he wasn't willing to do it. No, my family, my cousins, how can I do? He was crying. But because he listened to the instructions of Krishna and he decided, I'll do what Krishna says. Not his own. He gave up his own idea. Our problem is that we have our own idea. We want to do what I want to do. We have to give that up. We should do what Krishna wants us to do. Then we'll be with Krishna. Right? So hearing means to give up my own idea, become a blank slate, fill it up. If I come to you with a glass that's filled with some substance, and I say, give me milk, how I'll give you milk? Your glass is already full. Okay? In the same way, we should be an open reciprocal for hearing. And then apply what we hear in our lives. We say Krishna Katha, talk about Krishna, hear about Krishna, but yet we're more attracted by the cricket match. You want to hear who's the bowler and who's the batter, all this? No. These are all subject matters for death. Subject matters for death. And subject matters for life. Subject matter for eternality is Krishna, Krishna's pastimes. Krishna appearing in Mathura, being brought to Gokul by Vasudeva in exchange. These are all eternal messages. 500-600 years ago, people were listening. Today, many people are also listening about Krishna's pastimes, his Advent, his appearance, Janmastami. That's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction. Do that. The Kurma Brahmin wanted to go with Mahaprabhu, but Mahaprabhu said, no, stay in your place. Stay in your place. Do what? Charideka, Tarekaha. Wherever you go, whoever you meet, tell them about Krishna. Tell them about the message of Krishna. Right? Preach about Krishna. If we do that, then this movement will become very successful, continue to become successful, and spread all over the world. Okay? Any other questions? Yes, Hanuman Prabhu. Mike. You have to be fast with that mic.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
So he's a high-tech person,
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, thank you very much for giving inspiring class.
Thank you very much for listening to that class. It's much more inspiring when somebody listens.
Yeah. So many people, devotees has question. I'll make little comment. Krishna is perfect in Dwarka, and Krishna is more perfect in Mathura, and Krishna is most perfect in Vrindavan. And by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, it has become easy to go back to Godhead. Just understand verse of Bhagavad Gita, Jalma karma cha me divyam yamaviti tatvatah tyaktodiham punarjalmayati mamiti sorjuna. If one study Srimad Bhagavat Gita and understand this verse, then he can go back home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna.
It's an easy process.
Yeah.
But if Mayavadis say, oh, this is just sentimentality. It's so easy. But Prabhupada said, if it's so easy, then why you don't do it? Huh? Why you're taking the hard road? Take the easy road. But actually, it's not so easy. We're chanting the holy name of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare But there has to be a quality of that chanting. There should be quality. Pure chanting. The Shuddh Nam. There's different qualities. There's Namaparad, chanting the holy name with offense. What will be the result? You can't go back to Krishna with Namaparad. So clearing off all the offenses, it's not so easy. Takes effort. Applying yourself. If you chant Namaparad, where will you go? Huh? You'll go somewhere. It's not you won't go nowhere. You will go somewhere. Where you'll go? If you leave this world in Namaparad, where you'll go? Heavenly planets. Heavenly planets. The materialists are struggling so hard, opening hospitals, planting banyan trees, digging wells to get to the heavenly planets. And the devotees, just Namaparad, heavenly planets. But devotees don't want to go heavenly planets. No. No. Then there's Namavas, which is a dim glimmer of the pure name, like when the sun comes up a little bit in the morning, Arundhati, sun is coming, little light is there, not full light, little light, Namabas. So where do you go if it's Namabas? Where do you go? Namabas, Brahmajyoti, Brahman realization. Not suitable for a devotee. Om, oneness, light. What devotee will do with light, oneness? Huh? You can eat light? You can eat oneness. Devotee wants to take one laddu from Krishna. Wants to give one laddu to Krishna, wants to assist, or there's one cowherd boy that comes every morning to assist Yashoda, to put on Krishna's dhoti. He's very happy, small boy, smaller than Krishna, he helps put on the dhoti. And when Mother Yashoda's not looking, Krishna hits him in the head with his flute, tunk. And Krishna laughs and the boy laughs. This the devotee wants. Not, oneness, Namabas. And if you want to go to Krishna, then you have to have Shuddhnam, the pure chanting of the holy name. So how to get pure chanting the holy name? Huh? Every mantra we're chanting, okay, this one will be pure. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Okay, not that one, this one. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. So we have one very special and very powerful help, assistance to come to the pure chanting of the holy name. And that is the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Very, very merciful. And so we chant before the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivastava. In chanting the name of Krishna, the Maha Mantra, there's offenses to be considered. In chanting the Panchatattva mantra, whether you're offensive or not offensive, you're making advancement. So therefore we chant first the Panchatattva mantra. So in that way, our offenses can very quickly be eradicated by chanting the Panchatattva mantra. Also, it helps to become removed of offenses by having a good service attitude. Do your service, do it nicely, not begrudgingly. Hare temple commander, bola pots wash karna, chane lagta hai. Then what will be the result? And at the same service, oh, these are Krishna's pots, let me wash them nicely for the pleasure of Krishna. Huh? Service attitude. Try to serve the devotees. Huh? In the old days, remember Hanuman, the devotees, we'd fold their laundry, bring it to them, or they would fold our laundry, bring it to us, because they were trying to serve each other, serve the Vaishnavas. Is that mood still there? Serve the devotees. Then easily your offenses to the holy name will become relieved. Service attitude. And one other way to become free from all offenses is to chant continuously, never stop chanting. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Okay, Hanuman?
Bhima bro. अभी मैं थोड़ी देर पहले परिक्रमा में लॉस एंजलिस में प्रभुपाद का जो टेप होता है विभिन्न डिसाइबलों का वो सुन रहा था. तब आज का जो टेप था उसमें रामेश्वर प्रभु, बद्रीनाथ स्वामी और रेवती या रमनती माता जी के तीनों जो खड़े होकर प्रभुपाद लॉस एंजलिस में बोल रहे हैं. तब रामेश्वर जी पढ़ रहे हैं कि प्रभुपाद एक दिन उन दिनों में दामोदर पार्टी और बहुत सारी पार्टियां संकीर्तन कर रहे थे बड़ी जोर से, और बहुत जोर से कीर्तन हो रहा था, और प्रभुपाद बहुत खुश थे उस समय. तो प्रभुपाद जी एक दिन लॉस एंजलिस गए, क्योंकि उस समय ये जूहू का जो जगह था वो जगह उन्होंने खरीद लिया था, अर्थात सब कुछ काम हो गया था और वो गए थे वहाँ पर. लेकिन जो बुक सेलिंग हो रहा था इसीलिए वहाँ पर सभी लोग बोल रहे थे कि जो लॉस एंजलिस मंदिर है ये सेंटर होगा, हेड क्वार्टर होगा. क्या होगा? हेड क्वार्टर होगा, ISKCON का हेड क्वार्टर होगा. तो प्रभुपाद
वर्ल्ड हेडक्वार्टर्स
है, वो वर्ल्ड हेड क्वार्टर, यस. तो प्रभुपाद जी वहाँ गए सुरभि महाराज के साथ में, सुरभि महाराज थे तो चले गए, और रामेश्वर जी साथ में थे, तमाकेश्वर महाराज साथ में थे. द्वारकाधीश रुक्मिणी द्वारकाधीश मंदिर लॉस एंजलिस में है, तो सामने खड़े होकर प्रभुपाद बात कर रहे हैं. खुशी के ये आंसू आ रहे। प्रभुपाद ने कहा द्वारकाधीश को कि सभी लोग बोल रहे हैं कि हेडक्वार्टर वर्ल्ड हेडक्वार्टर लॉस एंजलिस रहेगा। रामेश्वर बोल रहे हैं कि रुक्मिणी द्वारकाधीश प्रभुपाद सब बोल रहे हैं नहीं बम्बई होगा। रामेश्वर जी बोल रहे हैं रुक्मिणी द्वारकाधीश और प्रभुपाद जी बात कर रहे हैं कि बॉम्बे हेडक्वार्टर होगा। तब ये मंदिर नहीं बना था। तमाल कृष्ण महाराज पीछे से बोल रहे हैं कि बॉम्बे में भी ऐसे ही संकीर्तन करना पड़ेगा जैसे आज हम यहाँ कर रहे हैं। तभी महाप्रभु अभी भद्र पूर्णिमा का प्रोग्राम अन्य अन्य बुक डिस्ट्रिक्ट का प्रोग्राम कर रहे हैं। इसमें सभी लोग को हम लोग सहायता करनी चाहिए और बॉम्बे को हेडक्वार्टर बनाना चाहिए, वर्ल्ड हेडक्वार्टर बनाना चाहिए, क्योंकि ये प्रभुपाद की इच्छा नहीं है, ये कृष्ण की इच्छा है, रुक्मिणी द्वारकाधीश की इच्छा। प्रभुपाद के सामने रामेश्वर जी अभी मैं सुना मेरे कान से बराबर परफेक्टली। उन्हें कहा कि प्रभुपाद जी बात कर रहे थे उनसे, लॉस एंजलिस में बात कर रहे थे और उन्होंने ये प्रश्न पूछा, उनको भगवान से प्रश्न पूछा कि सारे लोग बोल रहे हैं कि सभी लोग वर्ल्ड हेडक्वार्टर लॉस एंजलिस होगा, लेकिन भगवान बोल रहे हैं, रुक्मिणी द्वारकाधीश बोल रहे हैं नहीं बॉम्बे होगा, राधा राजबिहारी मंदिर होगा। तब ये मंदिर बना भी नहीं था। तो भक्तों देखिए ये कितनी खुशी की बात है। ये पुराने पुराने हमारे भक्त लोग पुरानी यादें दिलाते हमको कि बॉम्बे क्या है, ये बॉम्बे क्या है, प्रभुपाद ने क्या बनाया है बॉम्बे को, प्रभुपाद ने कितना बॉम्बे बनाने के लिए कितनी एफर्ट डाला है, कितना तकलीफ उठाई है। तो सारे भक्तों को बॉम्बे हेडक्वार्टर बनाने का आज मैराथन में, अन्य मैराथन में, भद्र पूर्णिमा में, सारे प्रोग्राम में हमको फर्स्ट होना चाहिए। तो भीमा प्रभु हमारे आदरणीय है, संकीर्तन के पुराने से पुराने लीडर है, उनके हम लोग बच्चे हैं। तो हम लोग को सभी को उनकी आज्ञा का पालन करना चाहिए। और भागवतम, क्योंकि अभी अभी प्रभु जी ने कहा कि कृष्ण का जो बुक है ये सबसे बड़ा महान गिफ्ट है। और सभी लोगों को रामेश्वर ने भी कहा कि उन्होंने कहा कि ये किताबें जो है लॉस एंजलिस में किताबें जो छप रही है सारे वर्ल्ड में फैलाना चाहिए। तो धन्यवाद। हरे कृष्ण प्रभु।
हरे कृष्ण। हरे
अब बोल सकते हैं, प्रभु कुछ बोल सकते हैं प्रभुपाद के बारे में।
Hare Krishna. Well, actually it's a fact. Srila Prabhupada had a great expectation from this Juhu temple that it should be a first-class example of bhakti all over the world. Bhakti. And we see that the deity worship is very nice, very first class. The deities are all beautifully dressed. The devotees have a loving attitude for Shri Shri Radha Rasbihari Gaurnitai, Sitaram, Lakshman and Hanuman, and Giriraj Maharaj. But the world is so sinful, they're not allowed to see. Things have the halat kitna kharab hai. तो भद्द जीव भगवान के सामने नहीं आ सकते हैं और प्रणाम कर सकते हैं। कितना पापी हो गया। They must have killed so many cows and so many buffaloes. Right? They have so much pap, they can't come and see Radha Rasbihari on Janmashtami. Kitna pap ho gaya. Normally on Janmashtami, so many people come. The line goes down to Bharati Arogya Hospital. Right? And people are coming to see Radha Rasbihari, Janmashtami. But they're so sinful and the leaders are so corrupt, people can't come. This is called Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga. And guess what? it's going to get worse, not better. But inside the family of the devotees, the Krishna consciousness movement, for them no Kali Yuga. They're seeing Radharasa Bihari. They're worshipping Radharasa Bihari. They're taking prasadam. Right, Hanuman? Taking prasadam? Yes. But for the persons of Kali Yuga, they're very unfortunate. Manda sumanda mateo manda bhagya. But we can make them fortunate. We can make them devotees. Give them the holy name. Give them Srila Prabhupada's books. Give them prasadam. We're a giving movement. Right? And they'll become purified. That makes Sri Sri Radha Ras Bihari Mandir the headquarters, world headquarters, by spreading. The more we spread, Radharasa Bihari becomes more famous. Already famous, right? But they become more famous. Krishna is perfect, but he can be more perfect and most perfect. Same way Radharasa Bihari is famous, already famous. So many people are coming. But they can become more famous by the devotees' pure devotion, by the devotees' sincere devotional service to them. They'll become even more famous. Shri Krishna Janmastami ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Thank you very much.
Prabhu ki